Hello class, let us now proceed in discussing your Module 5, which is your Asian versus Western ethics, or otherwise known as your Eastern ethics versus your Western ethics. And in here class, we will be seeing the comparison as well as the differences regarding on this perspective on how Eastern countries and Western countries sees ethics as a matter of discipline. So when we talk about your Western countries, this involves your Europe, your countries in Europe such as Greece, United Kingdom, Spain, Portugal, and when we talk about your Eastern countries, this of course involves your Asian countries such as your Japan, China, Philippines, and etc. So moving on towards your second slide, we will first talk about the concept of your Asian values. So as you can see in your slide, Asian values is a term that had been used to describe a set of cultural, social, and political beliefs and norms that are often associated with many Asian countries. So in here class, your Asian values is a term that has been used to describe a set of cultural, social, and political beliefs and norms that are often associated with many Asian societies. These values are rooted in the historical, philosophical, and religious traditions of Asian countries and have been used to emphasize the unique characteristics of these societies. So class, some common elements often associated with Asian values includes an emphasis on family and communities, respect for authority and hierarchy, a strong work ethic, collectivism or other words cooperation, and of course a preference for harmony and social stability. Additionally, class, religions, your Asian religions such as Confucianism, Buddhism, and other philosophical and religious systems have played a significant role in shaping these values, which emphasizes virtues such as humility and moral integrity. So in addition class, you have to take note that Asian values is not universally accepted and there is considerable diversity within Asian societies, both in terms of cultural values and of course your political systems. Moreover, class, these discussions about your Asian values have been, of course, controversial. In a way, class, that some critics argue that it had been used to justify authoritarianism and suppress dissent in some countries. While there are common threads that can be identified across many Asian cultures, it is always very important or it is always very essential to recognize the variations and the complexities that exists within the region of Asia. When we talk about your Asian values, we of course take into consideration the practice that are involved in these Asian values. So as seen in this slide, one of them is prioritizing the community rather than the individual. So in here class, prioritizing the community rather than the individual is a fundamental component of what is often termed as your Asian values. This value underscores the significance of collective well-being and social harmony, which places the needs and interests of the community at the top. So in societies that prioritize these values, individuals tend to view themselves as parts of a larger social society which emphasizes cooperation and reliance with each other. The well-being of community takes the utmost priority over personal desires and ambitions, which fosters a sense of shared responsibility and a commitment to working together for the greater good. So in here class, this collective mindset or the cooperation of individuals often results in a healthy community with strong family bonds and a willingness to make sacrifices for the sake of maintaining harmony and social unity. So another practice of your Asian values is privileging order and harmony over personal freedom. So in your slide, it states that this prioritizes maintaining social order and harmony within society, which sometimes at the expense of individual freedoms or dissent. So in here class, privileging order and harmony over personal freedom is another key aspect of Asian values. This principle places a very high importance on social stability and solidarity, which often emphasizes the need to maintain order within a society even if it means limiting individual freedoms. So in here, class, in societies that value order and harmony, there is often a strong preference for consensus and avoiding conflict. This can occur in various ways, such as respect for authority figures, adherence to established norms and traditions, and a reluctance to challenge the status quo or the established laws. So while this emphasis on order and harmony can contribute to social solidarity and the prevention of conflicts, it can also be a source of tension in cases where individual rights and freedoms clash with collective interests. So in here, striking a balance between maintaining social order and respecting personal freedom can be a complex and complicated challenge, and the degree to which this value is prioritized can vary widely among different Asian societies and even within them. So in here, class, remember that it's important to take note that these values are not final or universal, and that they exist within each society's unique cultural, historical, and political circumstances. Another practice of your Asian values is the refusal to compartmentalize religion separate from other spheres of life, which is provided by your slide. So to further expand this, refusing to separate religion, class, from other parts of life means that in some Asian cultures, religion isn't kept separate from everything else, but instead, it is mixed into many aspects of life like politics, culture, and daily activities. This means that religious beliefs and practices influences not only how people behave personally, but also how their society works and how they celebrate traditions. So let us say, for example, class, in places where this happens, religious ideas might guide how laws are made, or they might be part of everyday customs like how people greet each other or celebrate holidays. This can create a very strong sense of connection and purpose in these communities. However, it can also make things complicated when it comes to balancing religious beliefs with other aspects of society like government or different belief systems. How much religion is mixed into daily life can vary a lot from one Asian society to another, depending on their history, culture, and politics. Another practice under your Asian values is the emphasis on savings and thrift, which according to your slide, that values encourages individuals and families to save money and be financially prudent, often for the sake of future stability and security. So in here, class, an emphasis on savings and thrift is a value that suggests the importance of saving money and being careful with spending. It encourages individuals and families to save their money instead of spending it all. This is often done to make sure they have enough money for the future and to be financially secure. It's like putting away some of your allowance or salary for later so you can have money when you need it. So this value is about being responsible with your finances and thinking about the long-term future, and that the value of saving and thrift is an integral part of Asian culture, reflecting a commitment to long-term financial security, family support, and responsible stewardship of resources within these cultures. Another integral part of your Asian values is the insistence on hard work. So the insistence on hard work as an Asian value reflects the idea that putting in a lot of effort and dedication into what you do is a big deal in many Asian cultures. So here, class, people in these cultures strongly believe that when you work really hard at your job or take your responsibilities seriously, it is not only good for you, but also for everyone around you. It's like a shared belief that hard work is a key to personal success, like doing well in your job or in school, and it's also a way to make society as a whole improve and progress. It's kind of like the more you work hard, the more everyone benefits, and that's why it's considered so important in these cultures. So in here class, they encourage everyone to give their best in whatever they do because it's seen as a way to make life better for themselves and their communities. Moving on towards the concept of respect for political leadership, which is one of the integral practices of your Asian values. So in this part class, respect for political leadership as an Asian value means that in many Asian cultures, it really is important to show respect to the people in charge, like the political leaders and authority figures, and that they believe that in order by doing this, it helps them to keep things stable and peaceful in the society. So in this cultures class, they think that when people show respect to their political leaders, it helps the country run smoothly and keeps everyone working together. So respecting political leadership is seen as a way to make sure society stays calm and organized. So as an example of this practice, so here during the State of the Nation Address or SONA, which is delivered by the President of the Philippines, it is a significant annual event when the President reports on the country's status and outlines future plans. So this event class is marked by ceremonies and is attended by prominent political figures, lawmakers, and citizens. So during this address, people show the respect by listening attentively, even if they may have different opinions or criticisms, and that this commitment to showing respect for political leadership contributes to maintaining social cohesion and stability in the Philippines, aligning with Asian value of respecting authority for the greater good. Another practice that is presented by your PowerPoint slide is the belief that government and business need not be natural adversaries. So in here class, this belief is an important value in many Asian cultures. This perspective emphasizes that a cooperative and mutually supportive relationship between government and businesses can be highly beneficial for both economic development and societal progress. So in contrast to the idea that government and businesses should be in constant conflict, this value encourages a collaboration and synergy between these two sectors. So as an example class, this value can be observed in Singapore. So in Singapore, the government actively collaborates with businesses to foster economic growth and innovation. So the Economic Development Board of Singapore, for instance, plays a pivotal role in attracting foreign investments and supporting local authorities. So the government provides a stable and conducive business environment while businesses thrive through innovation and competitiveness. So this cooperative approach has contributed significantly to Singapore's rapid economic development, transforming it from a small fishing village into a global economic hub. The belief that government and businesses can work together as partners rather than adversaries has played a vital role in the success story, and it remains a hallmark of many Asian societies approaching to economic development and progress. Now, lastly, let us tackle the emphasis on family loyalty, which includes respect for elders, which is the last part of your practices when it comes towards your Asian values. So in here class, the emphasis on family loyalty, which includes the respect for your elders, is a core value in many Asian cultures. This value places a very strong importance on the bond within the family and respecting the wisdom and experience of older family members. So families are often seen as the cornerstone of society, the basic unit of our society, and that it maintains a strong family ties, and it is considered a moral duty to us as Asians. So a real-life example towards this value can almost be found in all countries in Asia, where these principles have deeply influenced family dynamics for centuries. So in Asian culture, respecting elders is very, very important, and that younger generations are expected to show respect to their elders, not just in words, but also in actions. So this may include seeking their guidance, taking care of their physical and emotional well-being, and involving them in important family decisions. So in return, elders provide valuable wisdom, guidance, and a sense of continuity towards the family, and that this strong connection helps maintain stability, harmony, and of course the sense of identity within the family unit, which in turn contributes towards our society. So it points out how the value of family loyalty and the respect for elders remains a vital and it plays a vital role in our Asian culture, which fosters a very, very strong family bonds, and it has preserved our cultural heritage. Another aspect of your Western ethics is that sophists consider man as a measure of everything. So for them, what gives pleasure is good. So remember, class, when we talk about your sophists are called your paid teachers in the ancient Greek period. So they are philosophers, and at the same time, they are teachers during the Greek period. So in here, class, the idea that man is the measure of everything is associated with a philosophical group called sophists in ancient Greece. So what this means is that sophists believe that what is considered good or right can vary from person to person. So in their view, there is no absolute or universal standard of goodness. Instead, they thought that what brings pleasure or satisfaction to an individual is what they consider good for themselves. So, in simple terms, the sophists believe that what is good depends on each person's feelings and preferences. So, if something makes a person happy or brings them pleasure, then according to the sophists, it can be considered good for that person. So, this perspective, class, was in contrast to other philosophical ideas that believed in objective, unchanging moral standards for everyone. Moving on towards our next slide, we look upon the ideas of your Western modern philosophers. I believe that one of them already is familiar to you because I have kept mentioning them during our previous discussions. So moving on, class, John Stuart Mill, the proponent of your utilitarianism, believed that people naturally want to feel happy and avoid feeling unhappy. He thought that seeking pleasure and avoiding pain is a fundamental part of human nature. So in Western ethics, one of the characteristics is the importance of happiness and well-being. So on the other hand, class, Immanuel Kant thought that humans are naturally rational, meaning they can think and make decisions based on reason. So he argued that there are universal moral duties that apply to all people because of their rationality. This means that Western ethics also values the idea of using our thinking and reasoning abilities to figure out what is morally right. So in general, class, your Western ethics is about using logic and reason to understand and promote ethical concepts, which are ideas about what is right and wrong. It's also about considering things like happiness and universal moral duties when making ethical decisions. So philosophers in Western ethics work to use logical and rational thinking to help people make good and moral choices in life. Now moving on towards your next slide, we now look upon the comparative table of your Western and Eastern ethics. So here, class, we look upon the differences regarding on the ideas of your Western philosophy or your Western ethics, as well as the ideas of your Eastern ethics. So first and foremost, let us talk about your Western ethics. Your Western ethics class is deeply rooted in the intellectual traditions of ancient Greece and Rome, as well as the moral teachings of Judeo-Christianity, which has a primary focus on rational inquiry and logical reasoning. So in here class, it places a strong emphasis on the individual and their capacity to use reason to discern moral truths. So philosophers like Aristotle, Kant, and Mill have contributed towards the development of Western ethical thought. So for instance class, Kant's categorical imperative argues for moral principles that should apply universally, regardless of personal preferences or your culture. So Western ethics often prioritizes concepts such as justice, individual rights, and ethical consequences of one's action. So this approach class tends to analyze moral dilemmas by examining them through a rational and philosophical perspective, emphasizing principles such as fairness and autonomy. So Western ethical discourses or Western ethical discussions involves rigorous philosophical debates and the application of logical reasoning to ethical questions. So moving upon the ideas of your Eastern ethics, your Eastern ethics class is characterized by a focus on following established protocols and showing deep respect, especially within the context of family and societies. It draws heavily from religious teachings and cultural traditions. So in here class, your Eastern ethical traditions such as Hinduism, Buddhism, Confucianism, and Taoism emphasizes respect for authority, elders, and family bonds. These traditions often prioritize harmony and balance within the social sphere or your social society. So this approach is more cultural with an emphasis on honoring customs and religious values. So in here class, your Western ethics leans towards a rational approach towards your morality, while Eastern ethics places a very strong emphasis on religious teachings, cultural values, and the importance of respect in guiding ethical behavior. So both approaches have shaped the ethical foundations of their respective regions, reflecting the diversity of human ideas and values. So here class, we delve in towards another ideas of your philosophers, which is Immanuel Kant. So I believe that his idea might come out towards your exams. So in here class, Kant argued that the soul must be immortal, which he believed is the fundamental part of your ethics. So here class, remember that Immanuel Kant, who is a famous philosopher, had argued that believing in the immortality of the soul is crucial for ethics. So in simple terms, he believed that for ethics to make sense and for people to act morally, they must believe that their actions and choices have long-lasting consequences even beyond their lifetime. So Kant had thought that if we don't believe in an immortal soul or some form of continued existence after death, then people might not see a reason to be good or act morally. So in his view, the idea of an immortal soul gives meaning to moral actions because it suggests that goodness we do in our lives have a long-lasting impact even after we're gone. So for Kant, he believed that immortality of the soul was like a foundation of ethical behavior.